All right, everybody. Hi. Welcome to my latest video, how to bet on basketball and win. Going to go into some tips on better handicapping of betting in NBA basketball games. The whole goal, the big goal here for betting on any kind of sports is to make money. So, when you can maximize your chances of actually winning money, all the better. That's more cash in your pocket. So you definitely want that. So we'll uh, we'll get right on into the tips here. Tip number one. Keep up with the team news. If you want to do well in anything, you really need to be a subject matter expert. You need to know um, what is going on in the league. One of the easiest way, or one of the best ways to do that, especially with technology today, follow the NBA beat writers. Know who they are. Know what teams they're writing for, and then follow them on Twitter. Follow them on Instagram. They are highly connected to those social media platforms. By following them and by keeping up with the team news, you can get ahead of some of the trends that maybe are coming down the pike. Maybe a team is changing things up and they're playing more offensive than defensive. Maybe there's a roster change, maybe there's a coaching change coming up. These guys are the guys who are in the know. They know what is coming down the pike, and that could affect the team's performance overall. So you want to know what's going on with the teams that you're betting on. And if you're betting on all the teams, then you want to follow all the NBA beat writers. If you can get ahead of it before the general public can, you can definitely stand to make some bank. Tip number two, learn how to spot the trap line. Just because a team should win a game and they should win big and they should do it easily, that doesn't always mean that they're going to. So if you're thinking that there's a hot team out there and that they are expected to win against some kind of a slump franchise, and the spread's only 2 points, when you think that it should be like 6 or 7 points, walk away from it. Um, something's going on there. They know something. They know something that you don't know, or they're trying to lure some people into betting. Just learn how to spot that. The best thing is go with your gut. Tip number three: don't put all your eggs in one basket. When you're betting on NBA, you need to have your money in as many sports books as you can. You want to shop around for the best line, just like all sports. But in the NBA, the books move at different times of the day. So if you're watching and you can tell where a line's going to move, you can pick up 1, 2, maybe even 3 points on total. And that's going to make a difference between winning money and losing money. When you take a look at it over the long haul, it's an age-old adage. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Kind of spread it out. Tip number four: keep an eye on your resting starters. There's a trend going on in the NBA when the play gets intense, when there's back-to-back games 3 and 4 nights out of the week. Teams are starting to rest their starters, their most valuable players. The thing is that they don't really announce that they're resting their starters until early afternoon the day of the game. So wait for that announcement. If you wait, you find out who's going to be out, who's playing, you might be able to pick up some points. You might be able to find some underdog or some soft numbers, or you might even be able to pick up some middle opportunities there in your bets, and obviously capitalize on your investment. Tip number five: you gotta watch basketball. Like I said before, in the first part of this, you've got to know your sport. If you're going to use this sport or any sports to make money, you need to be a subject matter expert. You need to know what's going on. You've got to watch the games. You can't try to keep up with it, what's going on by taking a look at your telephone. Like I said, we are connected so much electronically and through social media. We are very connected, but you can't count on all the stats and the figures coming through on Twitter and social media to tell you everything that you need to know. You need to immerse yourself in it like an English as a second language student sitting at night school. It'll give you a better idea of what teams are playing at a higher level and what teams are sucking all the air off the court. There's a lot of games to watch, and it can be grueling to sit and watch those games and watch those games and watch those games. But I guarantee you, if you are watching the sport and you know what's going on, you are going to be a better. You are going to make better bets, and you're going to win more money in the long haul. Tip number 6, ulterior motives. Watch for the teams that seem to have a sense of ass burn about them. Maybe they just came off of a huge double-digit loss, or they're out for revenge against a team they lost to earlier in the season, or maybe they lost to a team they were heavily favored to win against. These are the teams that have something to prove. So their next time out, they're going to come out gunning. They want to overperform. They want to prove to the world that they are not the losers that they are perceived to be. And while I'm in here, that's kind of bothering me. Let's change that. Sorry, ulterior motives. So they want to come out and they want to prove to the world that they are not. They're not the losers. So when you see a situation like this, all right, they've got something to prove, take the over on the bet. Even if they're the underdog, they're probably going to score more points than they normally would, so take the over. Tip number 7, a win should always be a win. You don't always have to, the phrase go big or go home. Focus on the 2.5 point spreads, the 2.5 point spreads, the plus or minus 2.5 points. On larger spreads, you're going to find yourself in a horrible situation where your team wins and they're celebrating on the court, but maybe they only won by 2 points on an 8-point spread. And there you sit, winning team, lost bet. Keep the spread low. If you keep the spread low, you're going to lessen your chances that situation is going to happen to you. And that feels horrible. You've been there. If you've done any kind of betting, that's happened to you. Sure, it could still happen. You focus on a 2.5 point spread, team wins by 1 point, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen as often as if you're looking at the big point spreads. Plus, the late game stress is reduced greatly by keeping that point, the point spreads low, by focusing on those lower point spreads. You're going to win more games that way too. Tip number 8, leadership and depth. The NBA is like I said, they have a grueling schedule. They play all over the place, all over the country, East Coast, West Coast. They're constantly in planes flying. They are constantly staying in hotel rooms. Just imagine how many people have had that hotel room remote control in their hand. Sick people, well people, you don't know what those people have. And then your NBA players are in there in the evenings sitting there watching television after the game or before the game, and they're touching them and they're touching their mouths and they're going to get sick. Same thing with the air in an airplane. It's circulated and it's recirculated. Sure, it's filtered, but those things are just a flying petri dish of crap for people to catch. Basketball is it's a very rigorous game, a very physical game. People get hurt all the time. If a team doesn't have the depth to overcome the illnesses and the injuries, there's an issue there. You also need to take a look at their coaching. Coaching plays a big part in NBA, in basketball in general. If they don't have the leadership there, the teams aren't going to go well, or things aren't going to go well. Or if their coach is out, whatever. Just make sure that you pay attention to that leadership and depth, because without the depth, they're going to struggle to play back-to-back games. You have to have it there if you're going to be good at all, and focus on who is out and who do they have to replace that person. So that's something you definitely need to take a look at. Number 9, watch for the tough spots. Tough spots, you got 3 basic situations for tough spots. You got your back-to-back road games, you got the situations where they're playing 4 games in 5 nights, and you've got your first home game after a long stretch. The back-to-back road games, where when their favorite is a favorite, the road team might be tired after the first game. Um, and then that underdog, if they're playing at home, they can come up and take advantage of that, take advantage of the team that's tired, and you might make a few bucks on that. Number 2, look for the teams that are playing their 4th game in 5 nights. That 4th game can be a payday for you because they are just beat. They're tired from playing so much. And again, if they're playing an underdog at home on that 4th game, you really need to take a look at that game and see what's going on there. First home game after a long road stretch. Let's say they're on the road for 10 days. They come home. They're excited to be home, sure, but they've got family lives that they have to deal with. They've got a lot of stress of being away, and they're dealing with stuff that they've been putting off for the last 10 days. So they come home, their focus, the team's focus may not be on the court. They may not be out there playing when they're thinking about, helping little Jimmy with his math, or the wife is on their ass about having to take out the trash or whatever. I'm sure they got somebody else that can probably take the trash out, but they've got other things on their mind when they've been gone away from home for so long. And the last tip that I have to share with you is the emotional wins. Take a look for the teams that are coming off of, let's say they beat another team and they really didn't have a right to. They were a shit team, and they were up against this monster team, and they beat them. They whoop them. They may have the mindset of sitting back and resting on their laurels, and not playing up to their full potential in the next game that's coming down the pike. So, they could really whoop up on some huge team. The next, they're playing some farm team from, God knows where, and everybody thinking that they're going to win. Well, they think they're going to win too because they just upset the great big team, and they lose their asses. Happens all the time. You're riding that high, riding that wave, and you're not paying attention to what's coming down the pike. And before you know it, bam, you're blindsided. Keep an eye on those emotional wins and take a look at the games that are going to follow those emotional wins. And that goes for the other team as well. Like I said about about being on the revenge, out for revenge. If a heavily favored team gets beat by an underdog, they're going to be out for revenge in the next couple of games. So, those things all play in. Everything plays into it. That is all I have for my 10 pointers on how to bet at NBA, how to bet at basketball and win. Thanks for watching. Take a look down in the description. Go down there now. Take a look. There's more tips down there on betting for basketball or any sports. Follow the links. Go out, take a look, see what's out there for you. Try to put together some things that would be of interest, especially if you are looking at making some money in betting on sports and sports wagering. So, thanks. Until next time, I appreciate you watching.